Well, I don't know much, but I know I love who fart no poo.
That was good, mate. How long have you been holding on to that one?
Thank you, man. Look, it's just a little something that I really wanted to get off my chest.
Yeah, no, fine.
And it just felt like this was the time, you know?
It felt right. It
It felt right. It felt
Thanks for
tender.
sharing.
It felt loving. And it felt real. It felt real.
Do you feel seen?
I feel heard. How you doing, mate? How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. I mean, there's not really much else to say. Not bad. Gloomy weather today, so that's got to be
Gloomy weather. It is gloomy weather, which is.
Can we get a bit more sunshine back? You know, I'm eating grapes.
Yeah.
I'm eating grapes on the podcast.
Oh wow!
Yeah, let's get a little bit of that.
Stuart. Oh, don't. We can't get into territory of ASMR because
Can't we, Nick? Okay. Show me the law. Show me the law. Show me the law. Says that.
I can't see one anywhere. Maybe we should do the whole podcast like this.
I can't promise I wouldn't fall asleep if we did that.
In 1975, I murdered 10 people.
That's a little bonus nugget for anyone with their sound way up.
Way up.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Same as you. Gloomy weather. I'm not eating grapes. But I've
change
got a glass. Yeah, I should change it, but I've got a glass of water with me and a good attitude to see through this beauty of an episode that we're going to be tackling. So let's just get into it. First things first. This isn't going to be a normal episode.
No, it's going to be slightly different.
We're not going to be having the same segments that we usually do, and that's because our eyes were turned to a certain new film that was released on Netflix over the last week,
and it had such a profound impact that we felt it would just be wrong to do a show that took too much attention away from it. I think we can't really break this sort of thing up. It needs to be.
It's important.
It's a discussion that needs to be had.
It's a discussion that needs to be had. And look, we wanted to tackle this film that came out that's been absolutely slammed by every single person ever online. Terrible reviews, the whole bunch. And we wanted to dedicate an entire episode to this film.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not gonna. It's just gonna be one long episode.
Don't get too shocked by
thing.
the lack of segments, but But I didn't even know that this film existed as of like 2 days ago, and I know that you didn't either.
No, I didn't. And, I got a text from Stu. We're trying to figure out what we talk about this week on the podcast, and I got a text from Stu. Let me find it. It was quite simply because I didn't know about this film either.
And I literally texted you the minute I saw about it. I hadn't even really done too much research.
So Stu texts me saying, "Oh my God, there's a new Netflix film. It received the infamous 0% on Rotten Tomatoes." So immediately my attention was got. All right?
Exactly. That's all I saw. All I saw was a headline that said this film. In fact, I think it was on Reddit. I saw like a notification that was like, this film just got the infamous 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, Nick, we're doing it.
0%. And supposed to be so bad. So I just replied, "What is it?"
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. I'm just going to say the name, all right?
So let's get it out. Let's tell the people.
In today's episode, we're going to be tackling The Last Days of American Crime.
And if you haven't heard about this film, please allow us to enlighten you through this special, uninterrupted, all fart no poop. We could call it a discussion. Let's call it what it really is going to be: an utter decimation. This is going to be an utter decimation of a film.
It literally. Me and Stu both watched it. I watched it today. Stu watched it last night.
Well. I watched. We'll get into it, but it's quite a long film. So I watched. I watched half of it yesterday.
Okay.
Ran out of time. Had to sleep. So I watched the other half today. I literally finished it. Not even half an hour. Actually, about half an hour ago, I finished it. So it's fresh.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about it in all its glory. Trying to figure out what the actual fuck. What is it? Why was it made?
And look. Usually, if we were to go into like a lot of details on a film like this, because we're going to go into details, we're going to go into spoilers. I'd usually say like I'd start off by just saying like, look, if you haven't seen a film, check it out, then come back. I don't think you should watch this film. I think we need to make this very clear. If you want to watch, one of the worst films
Yeah.
of 2020, and well, yes, the worst film of 2020,
The worst
so far,
film of 2020.
and maybe one of the worst films of the last and the following decade coming up. Look, you can do it. That's your prerogative. Have fun. I don't think you should. I
would
really
not
implore you
recommend
not
it.
to.
We watched it because we wanted to rip into it, and even then, there are bad films that I've watched that have been enjoyable to rip into.
Exactly.
There were many points during watching this film that I genuinely paused it, looked at the runtime, and thought,
Where
"Oh
are
my god, what's happening? Why am I watching this?"
Exactly. So anyway, yeah. So to bring up about spoilers and stuff, look, we're going to go into spoilers, and I implore you just to continue listening. We're going to make this as comprehensive as we can to anyone that hasn't seen the film, because let me re-stress this. We don't want you to watch this film.
Do not watch it.
Don't watch this film. Just enjoy us shitting on this film.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the last days of American crime. Let's do it. Let's lay a bit of. Should we lay a bit of groundwork?
Let's
for our
go
listeners?
straight in with
I
some
think we should.
foundation.
So it came out on Friday on Netflix, and
Wait, really? I thought it'd been out for at least a couple of weeks. Is that
mate,
new?
No, I'm telling you, mate. Friday it came out.
Wow,
This is a new
we're
release
on
from
top
Netflix.
of this, mate.
Yeah, this is a new release for Netflix. But I didn't hear about it. I know you didn't hear about it.
No, I
And
hadn't.
I know a lot of people won't have heard about it because it looks like Netflix completely buried this film. They completely buried this film. You can't find. It's from everything I've seen. It's not showing up on anyone's suggestions.
I will say, I think it's changing now because I had to search it. It didn't come with my suggested, but it is on the top 10 list in the UK.
I think it's getting a bit of notoriety.
But I think that's because people are watching it because it's so
exactly.
bad. But to add to your point, lots of people were talking. So basically, the film we'll go into the actual plot details and
we'll just throw ourselves into the
in-depth
film in a
spoilers,
bit, but we'll get this out of the way first.
The general gist, there's a lot of sort of, it kind of revolves around like policing and there's a lot of things to do with cops and stuff in it. So people thought, before the film came out and the first couple days that it came out and it wasn't really being pushed by Netflix, they thought, well, a lot of people were stating online that they thought it was because it was being pushed because of the movement at the moment around police
maybe they held
brutality.
back because they felt that
Maybe
it was the wrong timing to do a film like this. Yeah.
And it's definitely become evident to everyone who's watched it, myself included, yourself included, Stuart, that it's probably, and I'm fairly certain in saying this, probably due to the fact that it is actual garbage, and I think Netflix are just so embarrassed by the fact
I think
that
it's quite obvious Netflix have realised that they have a very, very bad film on their hands. So they buried it. But yeah, a little bit of backstory on it. Right, it's based on a graphic novel, which I've not read. I never will. I never will read. I want to express that.
Apparently, I did a bit of research into the graphic novel as well. Apparently, the graphic novel is not that good.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me, mate.
No, so it's like, but the point is, it's not even like
it's easy to be
from
like
the graphic novel
that
it's all of it's shit.
So it's based on a graphic novel. It's directed by a man who changed. Right, so this guy's a director. I think he did Taken 2 and Taken 3. He did
Taken 2 and 3. Yeah.
And he may have done some other films. I don't think I've watched any of his films. Let's get that right out of the bat. So this is my first introduction to this guy's filmmaking. He changed his name. This isn't his real name, but his name is now Olivier Megaton. He thought that was a cool name and he changed it
immediately off the bat. If you're changing your name to Olivier Megaton, all right, you literally shouldn't ever be allowed to make a film.
Yeah, you shouldn't be allowed near anything that shoots anything.
No, basically,
any cameras, any guns. Get away from them.
The green light process of pitching this film and sorting everything out should have been.
Yeah.
And this is for a lot of many other reasons, but mainly because his name is Olivier Megaton. Should have just simply been, even if it was the best description of a film ever, the best pitch, the best idea. Guys, we've got this, oh my God, we've got this amazing idea. We've got investors, we've got these producers. That's amazing. Let's sign on. What's your name again? Olivier Megaton. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next time. We're not going to be going ahead with this project.
Sorry, we're going to have to pull the cord on this one.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to blacklist you from all further productions of anything ever because of your name.
Oh, why? Why? Just give me a reason why. Well, it might have something to do with the fact that you sound like a made-up human being.
It might be something to do with the fact that you actually sound like a child. You just sound like a child.
Exactly, you animal. So yeah, he changed it. So now it's like a film by Olivier Megaton. I don't want to give him any credit for that. You sound like a cunt, mate.
Yeah, and also, in what world did he think he wouldn't sound like a cunt?
Exactly. I don't know what he
There's
thought was going on. Well, he
there's no
clearly,
way.
as we'll get into with the film, this guy clearly thinks he's the shit.
Yeah,
he
that's-
clearly
yeah,
thinks
he
he's
thinks
the shit. Right?
he's
So
like-
that's the first sort of flag of that. Like that's a little precursor.
He
to that,
wants
like,
to
"Ooh."
be Tarantino or Scorsese or something. He wants to be like a visionary.
Exactly.
And I think part of we mentioned earlier as well that so the runtime of this film is just over 2.5 hours. Which doesn't. There are longer films. When I tell you it feels like this film is at least 4 hours, I'm not lying. It is such
you are right.
a slog.
It is difficult. It's a genuinely difficult watch.
100%. But I think part of that length might have been because they could have made it a lot tighter and more concise. Still would have been shit, but they could have tightened it up. But I think that he didn't want to because then he's got this sort of like epic thing. Like,
I'm very sure
like,
that's why.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%.
So look, I don't think this film doesn't deserve, and we don't owe this film going into any more detail the backstory. Should we get some quick? Let's just quickly have it, Nick. What did you think of the last days of American crime in a nice brief? Because obviously, the rest of the podcast is going to illuminate on this for our listeners.
Oh,
but,
of course.
What did you make of it, Nick, from your first watch?
Well, I can tell you this much, Stuart. It was painful to sit through for every single reason you can think of why a film might be bad. That's why it was bad. Like everything, editing, acting, script, the way it was shot, the way it sounded, the sound everything about it was just dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, I agree with those statements. I think it's easy with bad films like this to sort of get worked up, and lean a little bit heavily into hyperbole, right? But I just want to make this explicitly clear. I am not talking with hyperbole here. I despised this film to an honestly shocking degree, and I don't get offended by things, right? Really, I don't really find a lot of offence in day-to-day life. It's difficult to do it from films as well. I'm always open to artistic expression. Some films aren't for me. Some films are terrible. I dislike them. But I was as a film watcher, as a human being, as a person on Earth in 2020, I was offended by how bad The Last Days of American Crime was to such an outrageous extent that I went to bed so angry last night.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and I knew I had to finish it today.
Yeah, and the worst thing about it, I think I completely agree that it was like actually made me angry how bad it was, because there are films, don't get me wrong, there are films that are technically worse than this film. There are films that are like objectively worse made films, all right? But, and this is my heavy but, all right? This film thinks it's so well made. It thinks so highly of itself.
This is it.
This is what makes it worse.
Yeah, this is what makes it such an, honestly, such an ugly film. This is such a deeply unattractive and ugly film. I feel my blood boiling just even thinking about it. So clearly fuck this film.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not even worth giving a rating because it doesn't deserve one. It's that bad. Don't ever watch it. But we're going to go through it. We're going to go through it.
We're going to. Now, one of the main reasons I think we wanted to go through the plot is that, as you'll find out, there are so many things in this film, plot-wise, that just don't make sense. There's
none of it makes sense.
All of it. It's
while I was making notes, I actually had a separate page which I just dedicated to things that don't make sense in this film for me. Towards the end of the film, got to be honest, I sort of gave up on that list, but it's growing. So
it all merged into one.
So I hope that we sort of touch on them. But at the end, if there's things that we haven't touched on that don't make sense, and just purely not even on like an entertainment value, but I hope you can offer some clarity, because I can't. You know when you watch a film, and I sometimes get this, and I don't quite get something. Maybe I just tuned out for a second. I missed it.
Like maybe I
find myself I find myself getting angry that I'm not getting it, and I'm like, there's got to have been something. And often, like, sometimes it's the film's fault, sometimes it's my fault. This time I couldn't. There were so many things I was like, wait, no, you haven't told us this.
And
so
there were a few points where I rewound the film to, like, I just assumed I must have missed something, and then watched the scene again, and it's not. It's just, I don't know how someone wrote this, and I don't know how it was okayed. and
I don't
released
know how.
and signed on.
I can truly only imagine that Netflix actually just didn't like.
They
like,
just
the
didn't
pitch they were given
check,
was just not what they
No.
ended up getting, and they're so shocked by it. But
No.
so let's start from the
Let's
beginning.
get
'cause
into it. Yeah.
This film sort of it throws you straight in, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like an action, gritty, almost sci-fi like film. But the basic premise of this film, the world that it immediately sets up, is that the government
Yeah.
have developed and are imminently about to release this signal called the API into the world. And what this signal does is it blocks. I mean, look, you're gonna hear me struggling through this because I don't understand it just as much as you listening to this for the first time doesn't. It's a signal that when the government throws it out from a tower, everyone's brains, the frontal lobe or whatever, I think they say at one point, they tend
They
to start
describe
to
it,
say-
yeah.
Yeah. So your frontal lobe goes berserk, and all the thoughts you have about doing crime, anything you want to do
Yeah.
criminally,
You can't
you
do.
can't act upon. It blocks receptors. So you think that I'm going to go over and shoot someone. If you were to pull up your gun in your hand and you went to squeeze the trigger, your body wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, I think at one point later in a film, they say it makes you like a vegetable. It
Yeah,
literally it stops you.
I actually think, Nick, the actual line, I wrote it down.
Oh, God.
The actual line at that point was Sammy the vegetable.
That's it, Sammy the
Sammy the
vegetable.
vegetable.
I would like to. So that's the basic premise that,
Yeah.
that is introduced at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, so that's the world we're thrown into.
But something happens. There is a scene before that that I noted down. All right,
Go on.
Okay, and it's the first scene. So it opens and it's obviously setting up that this main guy, I think his name is Graham. All right.
Wait, no, the main guy's called Brick.
Yeah, I didn't know what his name was for so long.
So you just called him Graham.
So I looked on IMDb and it said Graham Brick. So obviously they call him Brick.
Right, last name
so I
Brick,
just put
okay,
Graham.
yeah.
Anyway, so they're obviously setting this main guy up as this like tough guy, right? So I've noted down this opening scene because it is just ridiculous, right?
It's a real treat of an opener.
So my note is just opening scene. What? Okay, main guy Graham covers someone in gasoline in a bathtub, all right? And he even makes a point of saying how it's more painful to cover someone in gasoline than like because he had like wounds than salt water or something. So he's like, this is gasoline, all right? Pouring it over this guy that he's obviously just like tortured or something. He's fucking him up, all right?
Yeah.
And then a couple minutes later, he's still torturing this guy, and he pulls out the lighter, all right, as if to tease that he's gonna burn this guy down. And I'm not joking. He holds the lighter so close to this guy's face.
The flame warbles over his chin.
Touches his chin. The flame moves around the curve of his chin. That's how close it is to his skin.
I just before I immediately noticed that as well, and I was like, wait, what? So wait, what's on him?
Yeah, and it doesn't light, okay? They've just made such a big deal. This is literally not even 2 minutes into the film. They've just made such a big deal about this guy covering a guy in gasoline to light him on fire, and it doesn't light, all right? And then...
But Nick, tell the people what happens next.
Right, so then he's like, all bad guy walking off, and he's like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to like leave it up to you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like proper grungy music. He lights a cigar, all right? Puts it in the mouth of the guy as if to be like, he doesn't say it, but it's like obviously hinted that like he lights it and he's like, when it burns down, it's like when it gets to your lips,
down, you're gonna get
you're
gonna go up in flames.
Bam,
mate.
bam, bam, and then he just leaves. But I was just left thinking, just spit the cigar out.
Yeah.
Just spit it across. You can spit
throw
something
it,
out of your mouth pretty far. The guy is already lit a lighter by your face, and that's not catching fire.
And it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like clearly this is the first instance. I mean, the very first in this film, the opening scene, where the writers and Megaton, and the director and everything clearly thinks this is so cool. And it's like, you know, you always have to have a bad guy in a film that does something that isn't quite like, you know, when it's like, right, you could easily kill this guy, but you want to write a cool character. What you have him do is have him like have the bad guy you're interrogating do it himself by putting something that's out of his control, like a cigar that burns down and kills him. And it's like, no, that's not cooler. Yeah. It's dumber. You've just established your main guy as an absolute idiot.
And
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so that's what it does. That first scene sets the tone for the whole film.
No, Nick, sorry. I think you missed something out.
Wait, what?
because because he walks away, Nick. And yes, in fact, the cigar does burn down, Nick. And it is. I wrote this down in all caps. It is the biggest explosion I've ever seen from a cigar lighting gas.
Yeah.
It's
I
such
didn't
a
even
big
clock
explosion.
that.
It's so big. It cuts to an establishing shot of the room of the flat that they were just in, and it is
The
a
whole
huge
thing,
explosion. Like the whole thing.
Do you know
goes
what?
up.
I forgot that was even linked to the same scene because I was distracted by the fact that he leaves the room and he walks out, and it's the most bizarre editing I've ever seen. It cuts to like 3 different shots.
It does.
But it's not quite long enough to know where he's walking. So he would be like on stairs, and then it would cut to him on, then bam, a whole explosion.
And then bam. But I want everyone listening right now, and I want you, Nick, as well, to just bear that in mind. It's the biggest explosion you've ever seen, because that will come. That will come in handy later. A bit of information later. Remember how big that explosion was.
So then that scene goes on, and it goes onto a scene where Stuart just described, where it basically just sets the premise. And I'd like to add to the premise is that there's these so it's these signals that the police are trying to make to stop you doing crime, and there's a week countdown. Okay.
So that's
a week-long countdown.
A week, the signal goes.
It's basically like, in a week, we're gonna fucking put the signal on, all right?
And I don't know about right. So this is the first thing that immediately starts to confuse me. All right, I'm okay to go with the concept is frankly ridiculous anyway, because it's like, all right, you put a signal that's going to stop crime. It's dumb. But I've watched films with dumb concepts. If you just go with it and you just throw yourself in, it can be enjoyable.
The concept can be dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the
concept
way it's done.
can be done. But there's just so many parts of this that don't make sense. So for me, the first bit here, so we get about like a 15-minute, it's like a sort of montage about his life through crime, but we're seeing the world around him. Can you try and clear this up for me? Am I missing things?
Go on.
Why? Right, so the film it's basically established it's like a world of crime, right? It's basically like a dystopian future. Everything's going to shit. Why?
Yeah, there's like riot shields.
So what's the point here? Is everyone suddenly going crazy with crime and suddenly killing people because they're worried that it's going to end? Or has this been how the world's been for a while?
Right.
And also, why would an imminent signal that would stop you doing crime, why would that make you suddenly want to just go out and kill everyone? It's sort of this purge thing, right? It's like the purge, where they're like, well, if we have a day of crime, the whole world's going to set on fire and everyone's going to kill each other. Don't think it would.
No.
And give me a reason to believe it would. Don't just do it. So in this film, it's like, so there's a signal in a week. So for that week, apparently everyone's just going around robbing banks and shooting everyone.
This is where I agree with you on the confusion, because they don't go hard enough into either of an explanation for that. Because, for example, you could say, okay, so the point is that in a week this thing goes off, so everyone's going to do more crime, all right? But it doesn't ever show. There's just like looted streets and shit, but I don't get the impression. The whole film could just be a crime film that happens in today's society. So,
exactly.
So
this is it.
There isn't enough
very
crime.
much today's society. I feel like it's just that there happens to be fucking every scene in the background. There's someone like fucking robbing a bank or like
which then makes me think that's probably not the thing they were going for. I think they were just going for the fact that it's just going to be a world where they just introduce, like, it'll be like this world, but they just then introduce an idea of how to stop crime. But then that's so boring because there's nothing that precedes. There's no as far as the film's aware, there's no reason for that.
Also,
there's no,
like, I'm only just thinking this, but what? This is supposed to be, I guess, obviously that there are obviously moral problems here with like putting a signal out to stop people. But this whole idea that criminals suddenly won't be able to do crime, it's like, well, fine.
And also
fine.
This
just won't be able to shoot people. Fine.
Yeah, and this is something that comes back later on in the film a few times in my mind. But from the get-go, I just don't understand why. Actually, I'm going to touch on this point later on because it hasn't happened yet.
We'll get into it when we get to it.
I'm gonna say that.
But yeah, just to reiterate that point about the premise. So yeah, it's very obviously just like, right, everything's gone to shit. It's dystopian, people rummaging around doing crime. And there's a voice, there's like 3 voiceovers that are all like fighting with each other essentially.
And they're all from, I noticed this, and I noticed it because they drop it at a certain point. It just drops.
Yeah, it just goes,
There's a woman's voiceover.
Yeah.
Right? Talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's someone that gets introduced later on. All right?
Yeah.
But it never, there is no way of I don't actually know.
Exactly. And so the voiceovers are just like, okay, they were clearly just like, we need to explain this very quickly.
Yeah, and
but they don't really explain it. They just have a few lines.
No,
I wrote down one of my favorite lines from the voiceover, because every line of these voiceovers is just more evidence that the writers don't know what they're talking about.
No idea how to do it.
And if you watch this film, God help you, but you watched it, well done. You'll realize every line in this film is just there to sound cool. And this is my favorite. They were playing Jesus with people's brains.
That was it. I was going to note that down.
Yeah, because it's a sort of line where you're like, okay, immediately, I sort of get what they're saying, right? I get what that line means. It's saying, but actually, when you think about it, what does that mean?
They wrote that and were like, holy shit, we've touched upon like
this is the deepest thing ever.
Oh
I
God,
wouldn't be surprised if that was like their pitch to Netflix. Like, what if the government was playing Jesus with people's
And there are
brains?
so many lines like that throughout
the
whole film where that it's like they wrote a line of dialogue and they were like, okay, put it through thesaurus. We need to make this extra special and just lose all.
It's so funny.
Any
it's
sort of
it is
normality.
You've just nailed it there. It's absolutely thesaurus writing. That's all it is.
100%.
But during this sort of montage, we get a little glimpse of our lead character Brick, or Graham Brick, right? And so the idea is that he is a criminal that robs banks for this. I can't remember what they're called, like the Del Monge family or something. Like higher criminal. So
this is it. It's actually a flashback, all right?
Yeah, it's a flashback to
which
before.
I didn't know until.
But it might as well not be in it. Let's be clear. This might as well not be. It doesn't place it anywhere.
Yeah, there's no obvious reason that it is, but it does. Later on, it does. Something happens. Where it's like, okay, that was a flashback, right? And the flashback, I noted down exactly what it is in this thing.
Yeah.
Is so the government are doing. Basically, they're doing like a bank robbery, and the government is testing this signal thing. So it's a test. Brings up so many things that they don't address. Like, how would they test it? Why? How would they know to test it on that one bank robbery?
If you knew that bank was being robbed, why bother testing the signal? Just go in and arrest them.
Stop the bank robbery. Yeah,
they don't stop the bank robbery. It's just like sweet, though, and they get away anyway. Right, we're getting ahead of
so that happens, all right. And when they do test it, it ends up. Where they end up killing one of the people, all right?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Before we move forward, there's something so funny about the scene that I have to address. So we haven't really spoken about what the signal does, right? We've just said it stops you, but this scene shows you what happens when the signal goes off, right? So they're robbing the bank, and they're like shooting guns in hand, and then the signal goes off. It's like a sort of click, and then they all just start like
they're just like shaking, and it cuts. There's
the funniest shots ever.
Yeah, there's the weirdest decisions in and because it happens a few times in a film.
Yeah,
where it cuts to shots that are like the camera's like stabilized on the face from like a point of view, and they're like
it looks like an Instagram filter or something,
and they're just like the film's trying to be so cool, and it cuts to those shots, and you're just like,
oh, I mean, it's like every fucking shot of Frodo in Lord of the Rings where he's clearly having an orgasm / putting on the ring.
The orgasm
but you've just put like a wild earthquake effect on, like shake that camera, and everyone's like, ugh! You're like, it's fucking funny. But that's funny in itself. And then they leave the bank, and it's supposed to be like. So this is when it became apparent to me that this is them testing the signal, right? So what? So the idea here is that these criminals don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Why does not one of them say like, hey, what the fuck was that?
That's so true.
Like, I couldn't stop thinking. I was like, why would you wouldn't just walk into a bank, try and rob it, halfway through you start like shaking, can't draw my guns, and then you leave. And you wouldn't just not have a conversation about like, hey,
because
Terry,
they're in a car.
What was that?
Yeah, they dip out, and he's like bleeding out. The guy that's been shot that eventually dies, and they don't mention once.
And it seems like this is one of the other points where the film just misses things out. It seems like they just know what it is. Like they just know that this is a signal. It's because
they've put it in a world where this is a thing, but they haven't acknowledged the fact that this is supposed to be a flashback to before it was a thing.
Exactly.
This is the first time
even
it's
if
happened.
It wasn't a flashback. Like this is. It's clearly established as the first time this was tested or whatever on them.
Yeah.
It just forgets to show the characters finding out about it. It's just like
what? And then Stuart, it cuts to the next scene here for me. This is the start of. This is the first time for me that I would really like some explanation. That I think I might have just missed something.
Okay, well I'll see if I can offer it to you, Nick.
I hope you can, because it then cuts to present day again. All right.
Of course.
And there's And I actually don't know what this scene is, all right?
Okay.
It like zooms out of like there's a big billboard that's like fucking something to do with the New Order or something.
Right, so that reminds me of something that I have to bring up.
Okay.
This film's idea, I hate it when films do this. The way this film builds its world is it just puts the main ideas that we're supposed to take from this
just
onto a billboard.
billboards, yeah.
And the billboards it shows, this billboard in particular that you're talking about here that you see, is in the middle of a clearly deserted area. It's a barren fucking construction site. There's clearly overgrown grass. So why would there be a pristine billboard that just conveniently explains to us what's going on in this world? It's so annoying.
Everything is for the viewer, not the story. It's like you need to know
in case
this.
you forgot that we're in a world here where crime's gone rampant and a signal's about to come in a week. Have it on a fucking billboard.
Just plaster it everywhere.
Have it.
Now you know, all right? So there's billboards, all right?
So annoying,
Annoying in itself, right? So the shot zooms out and there's two. I noted this down because I got pretty specific with it, right? As specific as I could for saying I don't know what I was watching, all right? It zooms out and there's two people looking through snipers out of the city, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're like actually set up as snipers, all right?
Yeah.
And then it shows Graham coming up, Brick, sorry, the main guy, Brick.
Of course, Brick.
And he just kills them, all right? He kills these two snipers.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say who these snipers. I don't know who these snipers are. No. I have no idea.
I'm sorry to say I can't inform you, Nick, because I don't know who they were either.
It just Brick is just killing two snipers. What were the snipers? Why were they showing us snipers?
I think it's just one of those scenes where it's like we need to show that he's still active, being a crime man. I
think what it is because he then goes out and it cut in the same scene. There's a car that I think the snipers were aiming at, and there's a guy, and Brick goes and kills this guy, right? So I think what it is that.
But wasn't that guy? Isn't it the guy? So they found out already, right, that his brother has been. Am I moving ahead?
Well, it's spoilers. So this is the other thing that at this point, I was certain that in this flashback, the guy that got killed was his brother.
Yeah, no, the guy that got... No, we just see a letter about his brother getting killed in the flashback.
Yes, yeah.
So we've missed it. We need to inform...
We did have that, yeah.
He gets a letter that tells him that his brother has committed suicide in prison. And it's just the funniest letter ever.
Of nowhere.
It's just literally just an A4 piece of paper that has like a paragraph in the middle. And just I think it reads something like, we're really sorry to say that your brother killed himself.
Your brother has committed suicide in prison.
Yeah. So in the flashback he finds out after the bank job that his brother committed suicide.
So
I think that's but the guy that he kills now that the snipers were watching. I remember thinking like, oh, that's the same guy that was at the bank heist that found out his brother. Because he like runs out and he smashes a snooker pole on the table.
That's the thing. I think it's treating it as if you know who these people are because they've shown them before. But I think they just shown them for like honestly a split second.
Yeah, because I had that moment where I was like, I think I'm supposed to know who that is because I recognise his face from a scene ago. But I don't ever think we ever were told who this guy is.
Yeah, and
so
then
I agree.
So I'm glad that you also don't understand what happened in that scene.
Yeah.
But maybe you can describe to me. The next scene becomes what I can only describe as probably the go-to in how not to introduce a female character.
It is the first point in this film where I felt offended on behalf of another gender. I felt offended on their behalf.
It was. So I'm just gonna read out what I've noted down as what happens in this scene. All right. So Brick's in a bar. All right. Fine. New scene. Whatever. A random woman walks into the bar, all right, that Brick's in, and sits down, and there's obviously like a bit of like seductive look. It's like a bit flirty.
Yeah.
And
very cliche.
Yeah, she takes an ice cube out of his drink.
I wrote this down.
Yeah,
too.
out of his drink. Licks it in what is supposed to be. It's supposed to be such a turn on, and it is so unsexy. She's literally like.
It is literally like I've had more seductive accidental chokes on food at the dinner table.
I have eaten bolognese for dinner
yeah.
with my family more seductively than this woman licks an ice cube. But she does lick the ice cube.
I know.
And then she puts it back in his glass.
She puts it back.
Which
I
is
just
so
wrote
weird.
in capital letters, she puts it back.
I've got that.
Puts it back in his drink.
Yeah, she puts it, so she pulls this ice cube out of his drink, licks it a little bit and puts it boink back into his whiskey, all right?
So sexy.
It's so sexy. And then she's talking to him. And then she opens his shirt before and to look at a scar, all right?
Yeah.
But and then is like, oh, how did you get that? But she already opened the shirt to look for it before she said like anything about the scar. What the fuck? Like, how did she know the scar was under there?
I'm telling you, this film is written by a dude and directed by a dude that thinks this is what cool and sexy people do in films. Yeah. And he's like, well, yeah, definitely. An attractive woman would definitely go up to the bar and suck on your ice cube 100%. And put it into your
That's
glass.
happened to all of us, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this guy's so cool. Like, obviously, a cool guy wouldn't fret once about someone opening his shirt and then rubbing his tit with a fucking. I mean, I was dumbfounded.
Yeah. So it was obviously just a way. They obviously needed to get across that he's a tough guy. He's got scars from something that happened before, and they needed to show it. So for some reason, they thought the best way to do it would be to have just some random. Because also, and this I noted down. I don't think he knows her, but he might. And then it turns out, all right, this is from later on, that he doesn't know her. He's not supposed to have ever met her before.
Yeah.
So
this
is
a character to him.
Quite simply a random person
and
doing this to him.
They also so it's clearly supposed to be like meeting a random person, like sort of I immediately felt a connection with her.
Yeah.
I think he even says like some people walk through the door and you know you're going to die for them. I think that's the line.
This was I can't remember the exact thing, but it's like there are some people in the world who take the air away from a room when they walk in.
Yeah.
There are other people in the world that make life worth living. And then there are other people in the world that make it worth dying for. And you're like, what? This doesn't make
sense. And also, you don't get to say a line like that and then have one of, and I really can't express this enough, one of the least believable romantic connections between two lead actors I've ever seen.
There is no chemistry.
Absolutely zero chemistry.
Yeah.
There is literally no chemistry. And they just look at each other.
The lack of chemistry is continued because she then walks into the back room, just walks off, and music.
She says to him, let's go and tick something off my.
That's it.
Off my.
I've got. Let's tick something off my list.
Yeah.
She says, "Let's go tick something off my list." Walks out into the back room. The guitar. There's a bit of guitar music playing. It's like down, 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 down.
Yeah, exactly. It gets real soft.
Gets
rocky,
real fucking like edgy.
Cuts back to Brick, and you're like, oh, this guy knows what he's going to do.
This guy's dirty.
You're immediately like, they're going to go fuck in a bathroom stall. You know he knows what's up. He walks in.
Yeah.
But he walks in quite a. He walks in quite a sort of almost like a zombie-like, just sort of. He
really
gets up
weird.
and he's just like robotically, just like must get up, walk to bathroom, which makes a lot. Which is like at first glance, I was like, oh, he's just a randy, horny guy. He knows what's up. He wants to go fuck. He doesn't care. But there's a line that comes after what you're about to talk about that makes this so much funnier. So we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed it, but
I did notice it, but
we'll keep
in the heat of this moment. So this is our first raunchy sex scene. Except when I tell you, it is the least raunchy thing I've ever seen. So they start having sex in this grimy little bathroom, like whatever. Okay, up against the wall. All right, but. Yeah, sorry. I just have to get this out, all right?
Okay, go on, get it out.
But there's music playing, okay? And it's not music in the scene. It's music that's playing that they've put over the top in post, right? So it's like a song playing, making a mood, whatever. But they've kept in the audio from the scene at
so uncomfortable.
Such a strange, uncomfortable level, to the point, I've literally noticed this down, you can hear the tap and like the knocks of like her against the wall. It's like
It sounds like they're having a mild, fucking disagreement, like a shuffle in a like.
You can hear that they're not going in as much as the film wants you to think is happening. And they're also, so uncomfortable.
I really can't stress this enough. They are not having sex.
They are not.
What they are doing is they are stood up against the wall and they are just moving
They're
together.
moving, and it happens for not even a minute. Like,
It's so funny. It's so
quick.
It's you're like, okay, right, here's the point where he's pulling his trousers down. Oh, it's finished. They fucked. I literally wrote, have these actors ever had sex?
Have they? I don't think
because
so.
they cannot have ever had sex before because there's not one point in this scene where I could point to it, hand on heart, and say that is a moment of penetration.
Yeah, I don't know. They just rubbed up.
How's this happened? They just stood next to each other at a wall.
They just rubbed up with each other. It's very strange. So
they finished it. They finished whatever this sex scene was, and I have to be honest, I was having a time of my life during this sex scene.
Really
because it doesn't
was
make any
fun,
sense. But they finish it, and he goes, and he says to her, it's like there's like a moment of like zipping up the pants, zipping up the trousers. There's like a quiet sort of
like a post-coital awkwardness.
The music starts to fade. You hear the music fading down. It's like, and then he goes, so hey, what did we just check off your list? And then she goes, fucking a loser. Oh! Don't put that line in your film.
That line is so funny, and it's funnier when you have watched the rest of the film.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I'm just gonna. This is like we'll get into it, but basically, it turns out she's someone that has sought him out for a reason for the rest of the film. Right,
exactly.
But that line implies that she just literally walked into a bar and was like, he looks like a bit of a fucking loser. I'm going to go fuck him.
But this is the better thing about the line, Nick. This is what I was talking about just a minute ago. The line, hey, what did we just check off your list, is, you hear it and you think, funny line. If you really think about that line, this suggests that he didn't know what they just did, and that he didn't have the mental capacity to link those dots in his head. She literally said to him, let's go check off something from my list. They don't say another word. They both go into the bathroom. They both fuck. And this line suggests that he's like, I wonder what it was that we were going to tick off her list.
By the way, what just happened to my penis? Because
Exactly.
I've never experienced that.
But Nick, the fact that he clearly... So this clearly proves to us that this man didn't know that fucking her was what she was talking about. So when he gets up and walks to follow her to go and have sex in the bathroom at the beginning...
He didn't know what was about to happen.
If he didn't have the capacity to realise that they were going to fuck... That makes that walk to the bathroom the funniest thing I've ever seen. You know when I said that he gets up and it's like he's a robot that knows he's about to fuck? If he
That's
didn't
why
know
he didn't know he was about to fuck. But then even further, the fact that she said it as a throwaway line of like, okay, let's go check something off my list. It's like, oh, okay, fucking's on the list. The fact that she was like, then they brought it back up and she was like, oh, fucking a loser was on my list, makes it sound like she actually has fucking a loser on a list in her brain that she needed to, like today she was literally like
life or death. She's like, I have to fuck
I literally have to fuck a loser. I have to fuck a loser. Like adding those two lines afterwards, they could have left it out and we would have you could have still shown that she didn't give a fuck about him or that she thought he was a loser, which it did show because they finish and she just like kind of does her thing and kind of gets ready to...
She disregards him. She doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
Funny.
The lines, all they do is belittle the characters and make them worse.
Yeah.
I think we should just fly through the next bit of story because
I think let's breeze on until there's a really funny moment.
Yeah, let's just. I'm just going to race through a bit more of the plot here. Just catch us up nice and quickly. So right, they come out. There's a man there that it turns out that this woman that he's just fucked in the stool has a fiance. The fiance is the son of a crime family. The crime family that this guy used to work for, right? Can I just get that out the back? I'm pretty sure it's the same name. I was like, I recognise that name. It's the family of the guy that used to rob banks for.
The guy is called Kevin.
The guy's called Kevin, hilarious name. And he is, I mean, we can get this out of the way now. He's clearly, I mean, I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing, having the most fun in this film.
Yeah, but also, I wish I noted down some of the lines from this bit because he's like, I'll give you 5 words. And they're like, what?
Oh, yes.
He's like, word number 1.
It doesn't make sense.
Rory. And you're like, what? And that's the like brother.
And then he's like, but then he explains each word. So it's like, you haven't given him 5 words. You've given him many, many words.
He's like, You ready for the second word? The second word is going to be, and it's like, just say your sentence.
I think I remember what it was. He's like, first word, Rory. And then he's like, what? He's like,
What?
I know that's your brother. And I know that he died. Second word, suicide.
Yeah, and it's
you
like,
know what
bam!
happened? And then he's like, third word, prison. And then the fourth and the fifth word
Yeah.
aren't even, like,
No.
they don't even relate to those three words. He's just like, fourth word is crime.
Yeah.
We're going to go and commit some crime. And it's like, what? What do you mean
It's
five
such-
words?
They just needed an excuse to say stuff without it being, and it is shit. But we'll breeze through.
Let's breeze through. So
at the
so
end of
it-
this, I just want to
yeah.
add in for the end of this scene
Yeah.
is that basically Kevin, who Brick just fucked his fiance. Kevin basically convinces Brick that he's like, you need to come and do something for me and get revenge against this. this
He's
crime
pretty
family.
much like, I know what happened to your brother. And he tells him, look, your brother, it wasn't suicide. I was there. It was the police that killed him. They killed him with the signal.
Yeah.
They used the signal to kill him. I was there. I know what happened. I can help you get revenge. And that's the basic element of the plot. So they're like,
Yeah.
right, let's all go back to mine. I've got a plan that I want you to get involved with.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm in it for... let's talk about the plan, because this is another
Yeah.
thing which doesn't make any sense to me. Even though we're about to go through this, I watched the film. You watched
Yeah.
it too. I don't know so many details
Yeah.
of what this plan is supposed to be.
And the details that you need to know in a film about a heist or a robbery, because they spend so much time in exposition of other things and they don't on the things that you literally need to know
Yeah.
in order to follow it. So I've noted down what I got from the plan. All right.
Okay,
So
but before, right,
Okay.
I'll let you go through the plan. Before I say that, the scene is just they walk into a room and there's just blueprints on the table. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, we're gonna get a generic heist
Okay,
plan.
here we go. He's going to say it.
Here's what it was.
And they basically reveal with the blueprints that the API signals transmitted from towers, all right? And this is something that confused me because it never gets brought up again. I got the impression, right, so then they circle the towers where they transmit the signal, and then they circle this money factory, all right? It's literally called Money
It's
Factory.
called a money factory.
And they've circled it in the middle. They basically, I've put down, I think they want to rob it. Because they do, that is the plan, but they don't ever say that. They just circle it and they're like, all right. And then they say that if they do it at the right time, there'll be half an hour where they can get to Canada, which
right,
is
this.
yeah.
So go on.
Is it so Canada is literally like a 10-minute drive. It's like,
Oh, that's another thing we
south
forgot
of
to
it.
say about so that's at the beginning when it's like
Yeah.
everything's going to shit. There's suddenly this big thing like the Canada border is the border to cross,
Yeah.
apparently. And police are shooting people when they try and cross
Yeah,
the border to
they
Canada.
just
That
set up
is,
this
for some
weird-
reason, that's just like the border to cross.
Yeah, so Canada's set as a thing, and they've basically said, essentially, we want to go rob this money factory, and then if we dip to Canada, we'll get out and we'll be free. Like, they won't be able to catch us, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But my point on the towers is that
Yeah.
they make a weird point of addressing that it's transmitted from towers, which I can only assume they use to show that there's like patches where they won't get affected by it, because they're
Yeah,
like,
that's what. Yeah.
he's like, okay, it's right between these three towers, and there's an area which you can't. But that never ever comes into play
Yeah,
later on when it
exactly,
happens.
yeah.
That is not even mentioned.
Never
ever
addressed.
again.
Never addressed.
No.
And right, and also for me here, right. So you just mentioned it there, and they mention it. They explicitly say something about the fact that they're buying 30 minutes to get to Canada.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that she's going. I think they say that she's going to hack. They're going to hack something with the signal.
Yeah.
And then she says like, this will give us half an hour more than everyone else, which will be enough time to get through.
But I don't know how.
I don't know what that means though. What do they mean half an hour more?
And that comes back later on in the climax of the film,
Yeah.
where I have a couple notes that we'll address when we get to it, of
Yeah.
just
But-
what does this
But just
mean?
yeah, so just to be clear here, what are they saying? Are they saying that they're going to hack the thing so that the signal doesn't go on for another half hour?
Yeah, but then why wouldn't you just hack it so it doesn't go on? Just
yeah,
turn
and
it
also,
off.
but also, why do you need the extra half hour?
It's because they
don't get that.
want
I
to set.
just don't get it.
It's obviously because when you get later on in the film and you see the actual like heist thing
Yeah.
happening, they just need a reason for there to be tension in terms of timings.
But it doesn't
That's
make
the
sense.
only thing-
Just,
yeah, of course
do
it
the
does.
heist half an hour earlier. I don't understand
Yeah,
what
exactly.
And-
There's no reason.
And why would
to,
it? And why would it mean that they get half an hour compared to everyone else?
Yeah,
I don't.
that's another thing that they don't
doesn't make
ever.
any
They have
sense.
so many back and forths of who it actually affects and when and why.
And also, so the idea is that they're going to rob this bank, but they also want to get to Canada. And it sets up this idea that the money at midnight is suddenly becoming obsolete. I think that's what they're saying.
No, I think it means that they're just trying to say that once you get into Canada, all right, the midnight thing is because that's when this transmission comes out.
Yeah.
Once they get to Canada, they're out of US soil, so they're free. But we will touch back on that when the actual
we'll come
event
back around
happens
to
later on.
So
right?
let's move on. Basically, the plan.
yeah.
Honestly, the plan doesn't make sense. If I could just address my things that don't make sense, because there is one here. So he says, here's the way they tell this plan, the way he got Brick on board was saying, this will get you revenge for them.
Yeah.
My first point is, how is robbing a bank getting revenge on your brother being murdered?
No, not at all. There's no, I
doesn't
don't know.
Doesn't make any sense.
And that
also,
gets even further.
Yeah.
Oh, no, actually, it does. I can say that in the next scene, or I think it's the next scene, a little bit later on, that it is revealed by Kevin that Rory, who is the main guy, Brick's brother, was killed by a guard in prison, not committed suicide.
So
that's where it's like, oh, okay, now he wants revenge on whatever. But still, why would robbing a bank be revenge? And why would you say that until then?
Exactly.
Why would you come out and say
I've
that?
also got, what is the... Yeah, because he doesn't tell him that point, so why would you go on board with that?
No.
I've also just written, what is the actual plan here? I don't understand the plan. I wrote it twice. How are they buying an extra half hour? I will never understand this. Anyone listening that's watched this film or knows, honestly, this is check me up.
I even tried Googling some of these plot points and nothing came up.
I'll tell you what, Nick, I'm just you keep on with the plot. I've just got to replace the battery on my camera.
So I'm gonna keep running through, all right? So basically it then cuts to police headquarters somewhere, all right? And we see this new character introduced, this policeman, all right? No idea.
Played by none other than Sharlto Copley.
Sharlto Copley. I wrote that because I don't know what his character was called in this whole film, but I knew him. Police headquarters, right? Sharlto Copley. He shoots a random guy that comes in. Basically, this random guy comes in with a girl, and they're being really weird, and they are like threatening him. So he shoots him in the face at point blank. All right.
And honestly, I was actually shocked by like how close he was. He's just like next
so
to his
close.
head, shoots this guy in the face,
covered in blood. All right. And then all of the rest of the police come up and they're like. And he's like in shock, and they're like, "You should just go home." And he goes home. There's no formality. They're just like, "Go home."
I just wrote on my notes, response to this guy shooting another man in the head as a policeman is just go home.
Go home. Just go home.
They're just like, the night off.
They're just like, mate, cook yourself a nice meal. Just go home, mate. And try and forget about the fact that you shot a man in the face at point blank and you have his blood on you.
Honestly, I couldn't believe it. And so at that point is where it became that there's been a couple of teases up until now in the film, but this is a point where I quickly realised that the filmmakers here don't know how life works.
They don't know what things are. They're like police.
They don't. Yeah, it's like this is not. And I thought, right, so I was like, okay, so the point they're making is that the police are so corrupt that they don't care. I don't even think it's that
there's
at all.
No way.
Because that's not a thread that's ever really picked up on. And also, like, they wouldn't just be like, just come.
No, they just don't know how police would act. And then, okay, so blitzing through again, then that scene ends. He's gone home, all right?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to like a little bit of a montage of our main guy, Brick, stalking the money factory. He's staking it out, all right? He's taking pics of vans and people. No idea why, but he is.
And I also, this is where I noticed in the film, he has the biggest face ever, and he looks like Mr. Potato Head.
He looks like
exactly like Mr.
flat piece of wood.
He has a round head.
So that happens. Then we go to a scene, another of many scenes that make no sense. They're in a car park, all right? Brick, Kevin, and the fiance, all right? And the weird guy, this is where he says his name's Kevin, all right? He's the son of a gangster, blah, 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 blah. So then Brick, he's not happy about something. He's like, I feel like I'm being lied to. I feel like they're holding something back.
Yeah, and but also like rightly so. Like this is fucking weird. Of course you'd be like, what's going on here? You have an ulterior motive.
But he's raising his problems after he's already started staking the money. So you've already committed to the cause, and now you're going to be like, excuse me,
already doing
something doesn't add up.
The crime.
Yeah,
it's already taking. You've already started the crime.
He's an idiot. So he holds Kevin over the ledge of the top of a car park, right, from a height, and he's like, he explained to me what this is. He's really trying to hammer out of him what he really wants to hear.
It's very violent.
They resolve it so quickly, but nothing is resolved. I'm not joking. I rewatched this scene. Kevin doesn't explain anything to him.
No,
he just says something about how his loyalties in crime means that he does crime.
But he just, exactly. I wrote that down as well. That's all he says. He doesn't resolve anything. He doesn't explain anything. He just says exactly what he said for the rest of the film, which is just oh no, seriously, I just want to do a crime and I think you could get revenge. Yeah. And then Brick's just like, all right.
That's it. And then he's just like, cool. And then he lets him down and now they're friends. So it's like, what? And then it cuts to a scene of Graham, Brick, and Kevin's fiance having another fuck.
They just fucked. Yeah,
just
exactly. It's just like,
having sex
quick,
again.
Let's have another sex scene. This one, admittedly, I wrote more like real sex because they're in a bed.
Yeah, there was a bed
but
there, yeah.
Again, truly, and I can't overstate this enough, truly an uncomfortable
more like
sex
real
scene.
sex, but completely void, as with the first scene, of any
human
real human emotions or chemistry.
She essentially is just sat on top of him,
It's
and the camera
really
makes
weird.
about like 20 different angle changes.
It's very strange.